The original super shoe gets its 6th iteration, the Nike Vaporfly 4, not to be confused with the original Vaporfly 4%. So this version looks like the Alphafly 3 but with AirPods, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. I've done a couple runs in it. I'm ready to give you my first impressions. Just a quick disclaimer that Nike did send me these shoes for review, but all my thoughts and opinions are my own. Anyways, let's dive into the specs. The heel stack height is lower than previous versions, coming in at around 35 millimeters. Running Warehouse has it measured at 36 in a men's size 9. The forefoot is still 30 millimeters, giving it a 6 millimeter heel to toe drop, which is also different from the previous version, which had an 8 millimeter heel to toe drop. The weight comes in at 5.8 ounces. The price is $260. And I put this in the carbon plated racing super shoe category. All right, now let's talk about the changes and what's new in the shoe overview. The upper now uses a lightweight engineered mesh that is less baggy and drops the offset lacing. The midsole uses ZoomX foam with a carbon fly plate sandwiched in the middle, but the plate has been tweaked to be at a more aggressive angle. The outsole has full coverage in the forefoot and 2 patches in the heel. It uses blown rubber in a waffle pattern. Moving on to fit, in the previous Vaporflies from the Next Percent 1, 2, and 3, all of those I was a men's 12.5, so I got the same size in these. I also tried a size 13. The 13 felt a little bit roomy and the 12.5 was perfect, so I'd definitely say go with the same size as you had with the Vaporfly 3 or the Next Percent 2. That being said though, I did find that the upper of the Vaporfly 3 was a little baggy, and they fixed that issue with this one, and I thought that the upper fit much better. Moving on to the ride and my first impressions of the Vaporfly 3. Despite the lower stack and the more aggressive plate, I thought that it still felt very smooth and very fast. And even though the kind of midfoot and heel portion looks pretty skinny, it felt pretty stable to me. I don't know if it's just because I've been running in a lot of super soft, squishy, unstable super shoes recently, but it felt great when I was cornering. For the foam itself, I'd say it definitely feels firmer than V3. The forefoot feels a little harder to compress than it did in the previous versions. Kind of reminded me more of the Next Percent 2. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. I still thought that it felt nice and energetic and snappy and fun, especially the faster I went, the more I was on my forefoot and really compressing that foam, it would snap back and feel, just like a Vaporfly, that fast, snappy underfoot feel. So now, would I race this in a full marathon? I'm not sure that I would. I personally really love the Alphafly, especially for full marathons. I like that kind of softer, squishier foam. And this one feels a little firmer than what I would like for that distance. This one definitely feels super fast though, and I'd say probably maybe half marathon, but definitely 10K and below. All right, so I talked about the Vaporfly 3 and the Vaporfly 2. Let's go ahead and dive into those comparisons a little deeper, starting with the Vaporfly 3. Starting with the uppers, this one, like I said, kind of was a little baggy feeling, kind of had some of these weird puffy spots in it. That was fixed with V4. Feels much better on foot, not baggy, but also not too tight. So a nice balance there. The midsoles, like I said, this one feels a little softer, a little bouncier to me, while this one definitely feels a little firmer. Despite this one having a few millimeters less in the heel, I honestly didn't really notice it. They both felt about the same to me. It's probably because I was spending most of my time on my forefoot anyways, but if it came down to picking one for the marathon, I'd probably pick V3. I just like that slightly softer foam in it, but I do like this for those faster, shorter races like that 10K. Now moving on to Vaporfly Next Percent 2. The uppers are actually pretty similar on these shoes. They're kind of that open mesh. This one has that offset lacing, and I prefer the upper on the 4. I thought that was much easier to put on. It was more comfortable overall. Now moving on to the midsoles, I always thought that the heel was a little skinny and unstable. I also thought that V2 felt a little firmer than I would have liked. I do think that this one feels softer and bouncier than V2, and for some reason it feels a little bit more stable to me as well. So between these two, I would pick V4 for a full marathon, but I think that V2 would be great for a 10K or 5K. So I honestly think that the Vaporfly 4 is a good mix between the Next Percent 2 and the Vaporfly 3. I know there's a ton of people that really loved Vaporfly 2 and completely hated the Vaporfly 3, and vice versa. I personally really enjoyed the Vaporfly 3, and I think that this has, like I mentioned, a little bit balance of the both, where it is a little bit firmer, a little bit snappier, a little faster feeling for those people that liked the V2. It does still have some of that bounce into it and that more comfort that you find in the V3. So I'm curious to see what other people think about it. I personally think it's kind of in the middle there, though I did like V3 more for marathon distances. While this probably isn't my first choice for that, I definitely picked the Alphafly over the Vaporfly. So in conclusion, Nike is making the Vaporfly lighter and faster, but by doing so, I think that they kind of ruled it out as a marathon shoe for some people. I personally like having as much cushion as I can, you know, hitting that 40 millimeter limit, and I like it to be a little softer, a little squishier, and that's my preference. Though this is definitely something I will take on a 10K. In fact, I plan to race in this in a 10K I have coming up in a few weeks. So I will report back in a full review after that, after I put some more miles on it and in actual race. I'll do some more comparisons as well to Adios Pro 4, Alphafly, some stuff like that. So subscribe so you don't miss that. And I want to hear from you. Have you tried the Vaporfly 4 yet? Are you picking one up? Were you team Next% 2? Were you team Vaporfly 3? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on running.